Terry's Batman? What? The first thing I noticed in that shot was that I had not done my white streaks in my hair or the black in my beard until like after, and which I had done in most other shots of this whole show. But in that one shot, in that whole scene, I didn't have any of my hair stuff in. So it kind of looked a little weird for me. There's quite a big difference for me in 5 to 6 because in 5, you couldn't see my mouth and you couldn't see my face at all. So I could flub around with the lines. We just had to get timing. For this episode, I had to get dialogue good. I had to talk well. Lexcorp has a global monopoly on private security. It was harder for me that night because I had gone from stumbling through my dialogue to making everything perfect.
First of all, on behalf of Lexcorp, I would like to extend our deepest sympathies to the families who are affected this evening. This was kind of fun because this is the first time that Mercy really has to pretend like she cares. Because she knows she has to put on this front for the cameras, and yes, Lexcorp is, we love you and we want to take care of you, and trying to, in my head, play this double role of I really don't care, but I have to put it on for the cameras. It was a unique position to be in.
Episode 6, some of the first things that we ended up filming, that was the first time that Jordan, was in front of the camera for Heirs, and it was a month after we'd started filming. What I remember most about that scene was it was very dark, so color grading on that was a huge problem, but got to make do with what you got.
I didn't really know Will that well yet. We had filmed the previous proof of concept trailer together, but we hadn't talked since then. Eventually, I was settled with it. But for me at first, it was, so hard being just so angry at this person I didn't know very well yet.
The first scene to film in this whole series, and I had to get right into that, overbearing, not quite helicopter because I'm not there with him daily, but definitely overbearing father.
I thought that whole scene was just really cool because with the way we set up the lights and with Will just ominously being on the stairs.
And it really just emphasizes that power that he's yearning for. Joel is a very well-developed character, and I'm glad that we had Will to play him because he just killed it.
That was the first time that it felt real because we were actually shooting and all the the blue light, and I think I was also helping with something else. But yeah, that was the first moment for me that it was like, wow, this is happening.
Getting the lighting for that was fun. That was really the first time that I had gotten to play with colored light bulbs. And so we got that all lit up, and it ended up being too dark, and we didn't have another light, so I had my cell phone flashlight, and I'm like just a few inches away from Joel's face with the cell phone flashlight. Yeah, you do things on the fly. This isn't working. Oh, this is what we're gonna do to fix it. So that's been a fun part of the process.
There was a lot of just the direct eye contact.
Where have you been? Why haven't you been returning my calls? And I think it's one of the most tense moments of the whole series.
Just a lot of just insubordination and a lot of attempting to get somebody back in line, press the thumb down on them.
It's really important for Clark too, which is why it was interesting to film first, because that's his first time where he's like, you know what? I'm done being under the thumb of my supervillain dad.
First time I was exploring Joel and just how it's been years of this. It's just been years of Clark disappointing him, and now he knows that there's real danger surrounding Clark.
It's interesting for both Clark and Joel. All the way in episode 6, we're kind of seeing how this thing started, and it was good working in that scene with Will. Like I said, I always like working with Will.
Even though he's disappointed in him, still cares for him, still his own flesh and blood. Because that was the first time I explored Joel, and I think that definitely that scene was a good first because I had to dive right into it, and from there on I think I had a footprint of what Joel was. Aggravated, but still cares. Caring is definitely on the tail end of everything. Doing what he needs to do to keep Clark safe, but being aggravated about it.
COVID did quite a number on this show. My original production schedule was filming for 3 weeks, going from July 13th through the 31st, filming everything that you currently now see in the series. It was very ambitious, but I had it planned out to the point where we could do it. And 4 days before the original production was supposed to happen, COVID happened, and it completely threw everything off. What was supposed to be a 3-week filming process ended up getting stretched out over almost 10, 11 months. And it was a long, arduous process, even to get to this point.
That was the first scene that we filmed for the entire series. And I think that was one of my favorite days, too. That was just a really exciting day, because I think in the back of my head this whole time I was thinking, like, oh, this seems like such a big project to take on. Like, is it actually going to happen? And then the pandemic happened, so many scheduling issues. So it was really exciting to be there for the actual first day of filming and, like, see concrete stuff start happening.
And that was really fun working with Manon, and because I didn't really know her very well. We were acquaintances, but didn't really know her, and it actually, I think, helped because Mercy is so awkward with her daughter, and she knows that she should feel things like love and compassion and all of that, and she really doesn't, but she's trying to fake it. And so not having a really good friendship with Manon at the time, I think worked in our favor.
That was also just a fun scene to film, because the whole relationship between Kim and Mercy is, like, super awkward. And so in the scene where Mercy comes up to Kim and, like, forces a hug on her, and then she pulls back and we kind of, like, stare at each other for a little bit. First time we did that take, we stared at each other for just, like, way too long, and I think we were both waiting for each other to say a line. I don't know exactly what happened, but it was probably a good, like, 15 seconds. It felt like a century, but it was probably like 15 seconds of just staring at each other and just, like, nodding and just being like just, like, looking at each other until Andrew eventually called cut and was like, okay, yeah, that was good, but let's, like, dial back the awkwardness a little bit, and, you know, maybe next time let's, you know, actually act like you know how to, like, interact with another human being.
So, you actually worked for him.
Yeah. I was Bruce Wayne's right-hand man. Yeah, so it was really cool to be able to film that scene with Jordan because we've been working together for so long. I've known Jordan for, I think, 17 or 18 years now, and we've been on stage for almost as long as that together. And just with all the chemistry we've built up together, I felt we could really immerse ourselves into the characters.
Clark and Terry do have a very interesting bond. It's like Clark has a father in Joel, but Terry acts more like a father ought to, I guess.
It was a little difficult for me, I would say, because Jordan and I are the same age, and I had to act 10 years older than him. And so having the beard and the little white streaks in my hair helped, but I also had to get into a different mindset than he did. I had to become the adult, and he had to revert back into being a kid.
Bella?
Clark, oh my God, are you okay?
What the hell is that?
Clark, relax.
Episode 6 had some really great acting moments in it, even though it was a lot of exposition. Episodes 5 and 6 are very exposition heavy.
I played a double agent for a lot of the scenes, and I think it's so fun. I really do hope that when you first watch it, you think I'm bad. If you do, I did my job right, because I really hope that people totally think that I am with Mercy and Joel, and that I'm a part of the bad guy team, so that they are surprised when, lo and behold, I'm not just a part of the good guy team, but I'm Robin.
I've also done several stage acting shows with Megan, but for whatever reason, our characters never really talked very much, maybe just in passing, but that was really a scene I was really proud of, both myself and Megan, just both of us, just making that scene just, like, pretty intense. Like, it's pretty important, And this is just my own feeling. I also like that scene, establishes Clark and Bella just as very good platonic friends, Not that, they can't be a couple if that would happen. But I think it's important to show, like, hey, guy and girl, platonic friends.
I mean, there are a lot of people out there in this world that are, their best friends are the opposite sex, and they're just friends and nothing more ever happens between them.
I think the characters that Clark has the biggest connection with are Bart and Bella. And so to him, I spoke previously about my scene with Michael. That was pretty emotionally intense, and that one with Megan. So really establishing these relationships between the characters.
I was really proud of Megan. She impressed me quite a bit in episode 6 because that whole scene where she's talking about her parents and what happened and how she, became Robin, that particular scene, if you go back and look at it, that's all one take. That's all a minute and 20 or minute 30 seconds of just her talking about her family and her life. There aren't very many moments in the series where you get that long of just a singular take. And so I was really happy that we got that.
I also think that Bella's backstory is so interesting, and you get a feel of who she really is and how smart she is too. I mean, she hacked in to this huge corporation at age 12. So that can kind of tell you how smart she really is and how she's been sleuthing basically and doing all this spy stuff for years, and she's been Robin in secret for way longer than any of the heirs have even known they've had powers. Rachel, she found the ring. She wasn't really related to any of them. Clark is related to Joel, who is an actual character in one of the DC comics. And Bart is an actual character from the DC comics. Cassie was a little harder, but definitely not as hard as Bella, because Bella is really an OG original character that we created for this show. So it was a lot harder because we went through so many different things. One time she was the daughter or the niece of Mercy Graves, and she lived with Kim. Another one was that she was going to be an actual love interest for Clark, and that didn't end up happening. And so there was a lot of trial and error with coming up with how Bella was supposed to be. She wasn't actually going to be Robin at first. She was just going to be the damsel in distress love interest to Clark at the very, very beginning. But then we decided that she would be a part of the team. She'd be one of the heirs. She'd be Robin. And so we had to figure out how Terry would be connected to her. And that's when we decided that Terry's her uncle. He took her in after her parents died at Lexcorp from that accident. And then she found out all this stuff. And it kind of just flowed from there.